Hello, welcome back to Election Time News, your one-stop for political summations, poll reviews, nonpartisan predictions, interviews, and compilations on other political forecasters. Today is Saturday, March 22nd, 2025, and today I'll be going over the first review of the 2026 elections. This is just going to be governors and Senate. I'll not be getting to House for a while. I will be doing House elections for 2026. I did not do them in 2024 as I was just truly getting into the political landscape. I was learning a lot more about politics. I personally just truly started getting into politics in 2023 and after having some interest in it ever since 2016. So I only truly got into the picture, and I didn't want to try to burden myself by trying to focus on too many things. But now that I think I have more of a hang on it, I will absolutely be trying my hand at House predictions in 2026. But as of right now, it's far enough away, and their House districts, they're small enough that even a few hundred vote changes could mean a lot. But for the states, of course, you end up having multiple millions of votes in some cases, so it's not as big of a deal. So, with that in mind, here we have our election setups for the governorships of 2026, unless something happens, in which case there could be some special elections. But as of right now, this is the setup for the elections of 2026 for the governorships. The dark blues are incumbent Democrats that are not term limited, and this lighter blue are term limited Democrats. That means that they cannot run again. The dark red are non-term limited Republicans, and they are assumed to be running again. And the lighter red are term limited Republicans, so they cannot run again, which means that we will have different candidates in those. Then for the Senate, it's the exact same thing, except, of course, Ohio is a lighter red because that is the special election to fill in the remainder of J.D. Vance's term. That this will be a Senate seat of the last 2 years of his term. He was initially elected to the Senate in 2022, and then DeWine chose an appointee, and the legislature, I'm not sure if they actually confirmed him yet, but then he is most likely, I believe, running as the incumbent in this seat against a Democrat, and we will see how that goes. But the dark blue and the dark blues are Democrats that are running again, and the lighter blues are Democrat-held seats that they are retiring in, and the dark red seats, the Republicans are running again, and the light red seat here is Mitch McConnell, who is not running again. Now, there could be some more retirement announcements in the meantime, but I will be assuming that there are none. So, to start things off, we're going to just clear these maps, and we're going to quickly review things. So, California, governorship. Of course, we know all Gavin Newsom was there. He's actually relatively unpopular, especially nationwide, but even in California, in 20... Let me pull this up real quick. He really didn't win it by that much, especially not by any standards of California whatsoever. In 2022, he only won by 18.5 points. By California standards, that is a relatively poor performance. So, that anyone knows where he's going to be going from here. He's most likely eyeing a 2028 presidential run. Honestly, for the Democrats, that probably wouldn't be that good of a choice for the candidate, but we will just have to see how things go. There's plenty of better governors that are also running for re-election, such as Walz in Minnesota would be a better choice, potentially Evers in Wisconsin, not running for re-election this year, but Beshear in Kentucky and Shapiro in Pennsylvania. Those would all be good choices. Of course, for the Republicans, then you would have, candidate, if you're looking just at governors, you'd have Youngkin in Virginia would be a pretty good choice. So, I mean, there's a few other options as well. Not many outstanding governors on the Republicans end other than Youngkin. There's definitely a few senators, though, that they have that could absolutely be good choices, but we will get to those in a bit. So, back to California, Newsom is done, though. He cannot run again. But, of course, California being California, unless we end up with another Arnold Schwarzenegger situation in which there's this huge outrage against Newsom because of something that he ends up doing before Election Day, and then a Republican comes in, is very popular, hits just the right notes, then they could end up winning. Literally like Arnold Schwarzenegger did back in, I believe it probably would be... Yeah, it would be 2006 was the last time that it went red. He won by 17. I believe that was a re-election. Yep, there's the recall election against Bustamante, and Schwarzenegger won by 17. And then, of course, he won re-election by 17 in 2006, and the state has not gone red since then. So, quite a few flips in 2010, if you don't see here, but governorships, as I went over in my political systems video, are completely different. You can have very different party alignments in the governorships than for a state as a whole. For example, right here you have the very weird map of blue Oklahoma by 33. Note that Donald Trump won Oklahoma by over 35 points this past November. So they're very, very different when it comes down to those sorts of things. But anyway, going back to here, you have California. This is it's still California. Unless some drastic measure changes, then we're going to have this. So we have 50-50 or 55% or less for either party is going to be pure toss-up. 55 to 65 is going to be tilt. 65 to 75, 75 to 85, and then more than 85 is going to be safe. So more than 85% chance in California. It's California. That's how it works. Now, in Oregon, it's a bit different. It's going to be a bit less just because of the mediocre performances recently in the governorships. Oregon is a bit less confident in electing Democrats for governor. It happily elects Democrats for president by double digits quite a bit. But actually, it has not had a double-digit governorship election in quite some time. Still going back, we're at 2006, still not. 2002, still no. 1998, 34.4. So 1998, back when you had safe blue Iowa and still Republican Colorado, and you had a Democrat hanging on in Alabama. So you also had Republican governors across the Rust Belt trio and in New York. So it definitely a much different time back then. You actually had Jeb Bush as governor of Florida back then. And so that's how far back we're going. 34 points. So since then, it has not had a single solid blue, which is 10 or more, election of a governor. So for that purpose, for that reason, I'm going to put it down in likely. There's absolutely a chance that there could be a very strong Republican challenger of some sort that may end up shaking things up a little bit. In Idaho, this is safe red. Same thing with Wyoming, South Dakota, not Kansas, Nebraska, safe red, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama. All of these states are safe red at this point. There's incumbencies to deal with there. There's really not much there. I'm going to open this back up real quick. Oklahoma, term limited. Wyoming, term limited. But those are literally the two of the three reddest states in the nation. Second place is West Virginia, and then third is Oklahoma. So those are extremely Republican states. Idaho, I believe, is fourth, but they're not even term limited there. Alabama is consistently Republican-leaning. The only thing that's even close to Democratic anytime recently was that special Senate election that Democrats managed to pull off a win because of low Republican turnout in that race in, I believe, 2018 or maybe 2019. which he then promptly lost his re-election as it was in a normal election year. So all of those are going to be safe red at this time. Also safe red is actually going to be the state of Vermont. This is going to be a re-election of Scott, very, very popular Republican governor. Very, very blue state, but does love electing just general, more libertarian governors, which Scott is one. He is a more liberal Republican, so he is a perfect fit for the state of Vermont. They will elect him again unless he drops out by a large margin. So I don't see any reason why he would drop out. It's literally a safe running. There's nothing to have to do there whatsoever. Moving in next is we're going to go in Colorado is going to be not as safe, but it is still going to be a likely seat. It used to be red. You even had, Republicans winning in the governorships as recently as, it wasn't all that long ago. But governorships flipped first. The last time you actually had a Republican win was 2002. Democrats flipped that seat in 2006, but it was still a relatively red state for quite a long time, and so it's been consistently blue since then, but there's still, in theory, a chance, but this is going to be probably one of the closer ones that's bordering on the edge of safe, just because of how blue the state has become as a whole. Hawaii's absolutely going to go blue. They continually elect Democrats all across the board. Same thing in Maryland, incumbent governorship as well. You have Wes Moore, a not at all unpopular governor there. He's not, he's not insanely well liked across the rest of the country, but they should elect him again with a comfortable margin. Healy is going to probably win by a strong amount. You have Rhode Island, Connecticut, no real challengers there unless something comes up later on in the cycle. I don't see these being anything other than safes for the Democratic Party. Weirdly, New York is going to be relatively close right there. I believe that no, he is not. So Greg Abbott is going to give a likely Republican rating in Texas. This is basically safe. This is about as safe as Colorado. That's right around 82.5% or so chance of victory for the Republican Party there. It's pretty strong. It's a safe, strong red state. Trump just showed in November that it's really not moving that hard to the left. And even if its movement to the left has slowed over the past 2 to 3 years since 2020. And so that basically just paves the way for Abbott to win re-election by a strong amount. In Illinois, Pritzker is probably going to be able to cruise to another election here. Not going to be too difficult. And then you have, of course, in the state of Maine. Now, that's going to be a term-limited Democrat, so that's going to be a bit more difficult. So moving back up to the northeast over here, we have a few more states. Just going to get those all out of the way in one go. Maine is going to be lean Democrat. Now, this is because of a strong Democratic performance here. They tend to do pretty well in years where there's more of a blue Democratic presence across the board. Mills won by a good bit in 2018. It tends to flow with the nation as a whole. 2014 was a red wave year. LePage won, and 2010 was a red wave year, and LePage won. And so then, of course, we go back to 2024 or 2022, blue wave year, Mills wins. So if we go with the midterms being the opposite of the president, which is typically how things go, that means that Maine will go along with the rest of the nation, which means that this will be a lean blue seat there, relatively in the Democratic column. Now, of course, that's the exact opposite, basically, for New Hampshire likely seat. Might end up actually bumping this one up to safe as things go on. Iowa won without any concern whatsoever in 2024, 9.3%. Of course, she's no Sununu, but which we might get to a bit in the Senate. But there's absolutely room for the Republicans to progress this to a more safe section, depending on how things go on over the next few months, or the Democrats could end up finding a really good candidate. But as of right now, it's almost safe for the Republican Party. New York is going to be likely. Now, it's just because it's just such a blue state, and there'd be so many votes they'd have to move, but Hochul doesn't seem to be all too popular. The only issue is that Zeldin was a relatively good candidate, especially against someone like Hochul, so at this point in time, it is still going to be a likely blue state. If we do see another good candidate, then that will absolutely drop down, and that could become completely in competitive territory. But as of right now, it is going to be likely. Same in Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro was very popular, even amongst Republicans. He won by a strong margin, almost 15 points in 2022. And generally, Pennsylvania goes all in on their governor's races. Wolf was the only candidate to have, by 9, and you have by 20. So every single race for the past 20 years has been over 9 points. So if it goes like this, I'd find it very, very difficult for Shapiro to lose by over 9. So in that case, if it does go by more than 9, which of course is a bit of a stretch, that you have to have that pattern, that would mean that Shapiro would have to win by more than 9, which isn't also necessarily that implausible. He's a good candidate. He knows how to communicate well. Again, kind of like Youngkin does. He knows how to speak out to the more moderate voters on the other side, more as well as candidates such as Beshear in Kentucky. Some of these more cross-platform candidates that can pull out strong margins and even win and either win huge in swing states or flip deep states. So from there, you have Ohio. This is going to be likely. DeWine is a very popular governor, but he is term limited, so it depends on how things go from here. So DeWine cannot win re-election, but this could potentially go. I'm actually going to have it lean just because we don't know how the candidates are. So I'm actually going to have this be lean Republican just because we're not sure how far of a shift this could be. Trump will be off the ballot. As far as we know now, he cannot run again, so there's no promise of that future thing. He will probably be able to get his crowd out to vote, but as of right now, it is still a question of Ramaswamy. Does he win? How will he be perceived by the public? That's entirely the question at this point in time. In Michigan, we also have another term-limited candidate here, Whitmer. Gretchen Whitmer won in 2022 by a very strong amount, 11 points here, 11 rounding up. And so, yeah, okay. All right. And so she is term limited, though, and so that will be an open seat. This will be a difficult one for Democrats to hold on to. This one's going to be tilt blue. I think it's still slightly leaning blue just because it's a midterm year. As of right now, I'd say just over 55%, somewhere between 55 and 65%. This is going to go blue. It's really not going to be that strong of a performance there. Wisconsin, lean blue. Tony Evers is a very strong candidate. He managed to win by 3.5 in 2022, and he actually managed to flip his seat in 2018, which was, of course, a blue wave year, but he de-seated an incumbent running for his third term. Won that seat by 1.1. And then, of course, going into 2022, he managed to expand his margin to 3.5, so Evers could pull out a strong performance in the state of Wisconsin. Lean blue. This is going to be between 65 and 75% chance of going blue. So then we have Walz in Minnesota. I expect that he is probably going to cruise to victory here. Not really much of a contest. He is absolutely running again. He is not going up to run for Senate, even though the Senate candidate announced that they will not be running for re-election. And so Walz, I expect he will probably not have much difficulty. He won by 7.7 in 2022. And in 2018, he won by 11, so he did drop a bit in margins, but he's relatively well-liked. He's now gone up to the national stage. More people have gotten to see him. He'll probably be able to get some more fundraising done in Minnesota and some more so that there's still that effect of him having been picked for a vice presidential ticket there. So in Iowa, we do have a very popular incumbent. That's going to be Reynolds, won by 19 in 2022 after winning by 2.5 in 2018. So this is going to be likely red, unless there's, the only reason it's likely at this point is because it's so far away that in theory anything could happen. But a lot would have to go wrong for Reynolds to lose this seat. Very popular incumbent, continually going red state. Very strong performances to be expected here. This could go safe probably by the end of this calendar year to go up above 85% chance. Down to South Carolina, deep red state. McMaster won by 17.4, term limited, but there's no real good Democratic candidates unless one's going to come out of the blue in South Carolina and then win the nomination and then make a huge stand in the state of South Carolina to take this open seat. There's not much chance the Democrats have. Exact same story in Tennessee, except it's an even redder state. You need to have a Bashir appear out of nowhere in Tennessee. I don't see that happening. Florida is likely red. Now, this is quite a bit of a difference back. If you had asked me in 2018 what I thought would happen, most likely it was pretty close. I mean, 0.39 for DeSantis, but then he won re-election in 2022 by 19.4. He won Miami-Dade County. So he absolutely shifted the state as a whole, along with Donald Trump, way to the right through masterful use of the media and capitalizing on issues that voters cared about. And so from there, he was able to make the state basically a red stronghold now, and with a huge population. So that definitely helps on the presidential map and in the House. But of course, now we have DeSantis here is term limited at 2, but even though that's an open seat, it is still going to be likely red just because of how red of a state it is at this point in time. So I don't expect much to happen there as of now, unless there's, again, a really good Democratic candidate. I don't think that much is going to happen there. Georgia, I have as a pure toss-up. Kemp is term limited. He's done. I don't see any good Republican or good Democratic candidates as of right now. Pure toss-up. If anything, I have to say that if I had to put it in one column, Democrat, just because it is most likely going to be a blue wave year in 2026, but especially because there's a Republican trifecta. We saw what happened in 2018. That was a Republican trifecta. We saw what happened. Those sorts of years tend to be pretty bad, but as of right now, it's going to be like 52.5% Democrat. So it's going to be pure toss-up. Kansas, lean red. Now, this is only because there's currently a Democrat, which means there actually might be more open to electing another Democrat to the governor's mansion. So that reasoning might seem a bit weird, but of course you have, multiple times where these states actually end up chaining the same party, even though they actually aren't generally necessarily favorable to that party in general. So you have, North Carolina with its Democratic governors. McCrory won there, but in 2016, Cooper won it, and then was very popular. And then they went to Stein. Now, part of it was because of Robinson and his scandals, but it's still absolutely a factor there. So there's quite a few states where this has happened. Not much in very recent history, but of course, it absolutely does impact how likely a state might be. Now, of course, Kelly is term limited, so that's going to hurt, which means that it's not going to be an easy incumbency factor there. In New Mexico, another term limited Democrat. That's going to be another likely. There's not going to be much there to do. Grisham's not going to be running again, term limited, but that's just going to be not too difficult of a race there. Arizona, lean Democrat. This is because there's an incumbent, relatively popular. Hobbs beat Lake by just over half a point in 2022. So, relatively popular, but not, super popular or anything. No real challenger has been decided yet in the state of Arizona. Nevada, this one's going to be likely red. Very popular governor, Lombardo, won by 1.5. De-seated incumbent Sisolak, very good campaigner. Lombardo is the other governor that I'd say is a great Republican candidate. Knows how to get across the aisle, knows how to get people excited and focus on issues that are focused on the Republican Party. And then you have Alaska. Now, this completely depends on who ends up running, but as of right now, I'm actually going to have this be tilt red. So, if Peltola does actually decide officially to run for the open seat in Alaska, then this could get much closer because Peltola, of course, was in the sole House seat in Alaska, and she won in 2022 by 10 points. But of course, she was de-seated by Begich in 2024 by 2%. But it was a red wave year. Under any normal circumstances, she most likely would have won re-election. So then that could absolutely pull things closer. So then as of right now, I have my map 27-22 with one toss-up being Georgia. Depending on how things go, especially because of Georgia's leftward trend, it moved the least to the right out of all of the swing states in 2024, so it is trending hard to the left at this time, so it might be more willing to elect a Democratic governor as well for that reason. Now we go to the Senate. The Senate, we have a few important Democrats that are actually retiring, so it's bad news for the Democratic Party. But first, we're going to get in the safes. You have, Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota. Kansas, because now this is only safe because Kelly said that she is not running for another political office. This would be likely if she was running for Senate. You have Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia, and not Kentucky, South Carolina. So all of those are going to be safe Republican seats here in the Senate, and then for the safe Democratic seats, we have Colorado, you have Delaware, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. So it's a very rough map for Democrats, 43-39, with 18 competitive-ish seats, and three of them are with a huge caveat. Montana, that assumes that Tester comes back. Nebraska, that would only be if Osborne decides to run again. And Kentucky, that would only be if Beshear decides to run for the Senate, which I doubt he will. So those are on those very important caveats. Those are essentially safe, only with the caveat of if one of those really good candidates does decide to run for Senate. Then, of course, we are going to go down to Texas. Cornyn running for re-election here. Relatively strong candidate, won by just under 10. No real problems there. Lujan, no real problems. Expected to be reelected by a strong margin. Merkley, actually, I'm going to put this one in as safe. 17.6. That's a very strong margin. Running again, it appears that that's going to be a strong margin there. Ernst, relatively strong candidate, likely as far as that goes. Durbin is another strong candidate. That's actually going to be safe. Sullivan in Alaska, this is only going to be likely, again, because of the uncertainty with Peltola, but even then, Durbin is a popular enough, Sullivan is a popular enough incumbent here. I do believe that that could end up just not affecting much as far as that goes in the first place. And then And then we have Florida. Florida is going to be the remainder of Marco Rubio's seat. I would not at all be surprised if Ron DeSantis decides to run for this seat. I'm going to have this be likely just because of that open statement there. It's a relatively red state, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if Ron DeSantis does actually decide to run for that seat, which means that Republicans will hold on to the U.S. Senate in 2026, which is bad news for the Democrats, obviously, as that means that Trump will have one less chamber to have to worry about. Next up, we're going to move on to Ohio. This is going to be an incumbency race here. It's a special election. You'd have to get lean. This is going to be lean just because of the chance of the two strong Democratic candidates here that could run. You have Brown could run again. Sherrod Brown could absolutely choose to run again in the Senate here in Ohio in 2026. And you also have Ryan, who lost to Vance, could end up running here to fill in the rest of his seat. So both of them are relatively strong, moderate candidates who did pretty well in pretty red Ohio. Either of them running would give a stronger chance to the Democratic Party to win, but as of right now, of course, I do think that it is somewhat favored to the Republicans. Same thing in North Carolina. This one's going to be tilt. If Roy Cooper decides to run for this seat, that could make things a lot more competitive. But as of right now, you have a relatively strong incumbent in Tillis. There's not much. He only won by less than 2 points in 2020. But that is still a win, and of course it is still North Carolina, who of course shifted quite a bit to the right in the past election. Then you have Minnesota. Smith is retiring, so this is going to be lean blue. Walz is not running for this seat here, so it's still an open candidacy as far as this goes. It's going to really shake things up as far as that goes, if there's going to be any strong Republican candidate. If not, it's probably going to be a Democratic held seat, just because the state as a whole is just strong enough of a Democratic state that it should overcompensate for that. In Virginia, you have Warner, who is running for re-election. This is actually going to be a safe blue seat. I did miss this earlier. Such a popular, the only way that this could, I'm actually going to have this be likely, just because of Youngkin. If Youngkin runs, this could absolutely become a much closer seat. It would be interesting to see if Youngkin runs and wins this seat, and Cooper runs and wins in North Carolina. That would be a fun flip, fun twist on the 26 elections. Shaheen is also retiring, which is really bad news for the Democrats, also because Sununu might be running in this seat. So for that reason, I'm actually going to have this be a pure toss-up. New Hampshire, a pure toss-up. Again, I'm actually going to have this be like 52.5% for the Democrats because it is a blue tilting state. But, and this time with the uncertainty of Sununu and with the open seat, this is absolutely just completely up in the air at this point. The very popular incumbent senator who won by a lot in 2020, 15.6 points, the same year that Biden won by 7. Dropping out of this race, retiring, is going to be a tough one. Same thing in Georgia, pure toss-up. If Ossoff, just earlier today, Governor Kemp announced that he will not run in this seat, so that gives Ossoff a bit of room to breathe. But if MTG runs, then this will become lean blue or tilt blue. She's a very not likable candidate, very extremist as far as like MAGA Republicans go, compared to the rest of the Democrats and independents that they'll want to pick up. But because of that uncertainty, again, that is going to be a toss-up seat. And then in Michigan, Peters is also not running again, but then we also have the fact that Buttigieg said that he is not running for this seat either. He is probably also poising for a 2028 presidential bid. We're going to have this one be toss-up as well to finish things off, 52-44 with 4 toss-up seats as of right now, because in Maine we have incumbent Susan Collins, but you also have Golden could run in this seat. That could make things very competitive. He managed to hold on to the House seat in the 2nd district, even though it is quite a Republican district. It voted for Trump all 3 times that he ran for president by close to 8 points each time. So a very Republican district. He knows how to get those voters, so that could absolutely bring things closer for Collins. And even though she did manage to hold on in 2020, even by 8.6, as simultaneously as Biden won the state by almost that much, which is 16 points in split ticket voting, that does mean that things are still going to get close here, or she may completely overperform again. But as things have to continue moving onward, I will be updating this. So that's our first look at the 2026 elections, 27 to 22 to 1 in the gubernatorial races, and then 52 to 44 to 4 in the Senate. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a fabulous rest of your day.